Hello, it's Jamie J, CEO and founder of Bottleneck Virtual Assistants. We are about to introduce you to Miha Matlievsky. He's going to change your life if you don't know who Miha is. But before I introduce you, let's go ahead and do the quick introduction here. We'll be back in about 38 seconds or so. Hello, it's Jamie J. I am the CEO and founder of Bottleneck Virtual Assistants, and you can learn more about us going to bottleneck.online. But that's not why we're here today. Today, we are here to talk to Miha Matlievsky, and he is going to help you stop the bottleneck in your business. And why is Miha here to help you stop the bottleneck in your business? Well, let me tell you, he is the fail coach. And what we're going to be talking about today is trust is the most valuable currency. Learn how to leverage it. I love that. Learn how to leverage it. Let me tell you a little bit more about Miha if you haven't heard of him. He is simply one of the kindest, has one of the biggest hearts I've ever realized in anybody that I've met online. And thank the Lord, our paths have crossed. And I believe I have to thank, oh my gosh, I forgot who introduced us right off the top of my head. I will remember it, and Miha will be sure to tell me who it was. I will get it. I will get it. But let's go ahead and introduce Miha. In 2009, Miha had 4 companies go bankrupt overnight, landing him $5 million in debt. Contemplating suicide to escape the pain as he looked over the balcony, he had a life-saving aha moment. He realized that failure was a normal part of life, admitting to himself that he failed and to recognize he needed to stop blaming others and circumstances. It was the turning point when he made a choice to learn from his failures so he could do things differently in the future and to help others. Since then, he has climbed back to create a business and scaling it to 8 figures in less than a year. His life mission is to help people develop a healthy relationship with failure, especially entrepreneurs. So it gives me great pride in introducing you to Miha Matlievsky. How are you, sir?
Well, hello, Mr. Jamie. It's absolutely always a pleasure talking to you. I love our conversations, whether they are recorded or unrecorded. It's always a huge pleasure to talk to you. And I hope that your audience will enjoy our conversation as well.
I'm going to go out on a limb and I'm going to say they are. They're going to enjoy it like there's no tomorrow. Your phone's going to start ringing off the hook. No.
Well, let's see.
Well, Miha, I wonder before we get into the conversation today, and we dive into this topic, trust is the most valuable currency. Learn how to leverage it. I wonder if maybe you can share with us a little bit more of your story, who you are, and what you're up to.
Well, I dropped out of high school when I was 17, and with 18 years old, I started my entrepreneurial journey. At first, that was in my father's small business, and then suddenly my father died when I was 23 years old. I took over the family business, and that's where the journey of me being an entrepreneur by myself really started. By the time I was, 29, 30, 31, something like that. So 2009, that's 31 then, yes. I had 4 successful companies. All of them were doing more than 7 and 8 figures in US dollars. And one of my companies was involved in a huge real estate project. It was a big shopping center and then apartment building on top of it. And, in 2008, the financial crisis in the US, we thought in Europe, oh, that's not going to come here. Well, it did in 2009, and I lost everything in one single day. I ended up $5 million in debt, as you said. And I wasn't able to do any kind of personal bankruptcy and just get the whole thing written off. So depression, anxiety, darkness, and all of that. I don't want to go too deep into the whole thing because then we can just talk about that for an hour. But suicide attempts and one where I came super close to actually really doing it. I think I was literally seconds away. I had that aha moment, as you mentioned, where I really realized that it's nobody else's fault that I am where I am. It's all my fault. So I climbed back in from the balcony. I made a huge list, started working on my personal development, on my business development, and all of that. And then in 2014, if I fast forward a little bit, I created a startup with all the knowledge from mainly all those failures. I was able to scale it to $48 million in revenue in the first year, 730 in the next year. Then I stepped down as the CEO. Then I was in charge of negotiating an exit. We were taken over by a huge competitor, a Fortune 100 company. That's why I'm unfortunately not allowed to talk too much about that, because it wasn't the nicest of the takeovers. They really wanted our know-how and certain software solutions and so on. And I did what anybody would do after an exit. I went to Lisbon, Portugal, to experience the beach lifestyle, to drink cocktails, have fun, dance, and so on. And after 3 days, I was so bored that I just took out the phone, clicked on the Meetup app, started going to meetups, and you share your story, you share a little bit of your experiences, and entrepreneurs started inviting me for a coffee or to visit their business. They wanted to share what they're doing with me and get my feedback. I kind of fell into the whole coaching thing. And when I was really thinking, what's that one thing that really stands out, how quickly you will achieve the actual success, it's really how well you handle failure. There's a whole lot of failing and testing and trying and roadblocks and all of that along the journey. And so that's why the fail coach. You need to learn how to embrace failure, how to have healthy relationship with failure. And then a few years later, as I was doing a lot of this coaching, people started asking me, what was that really maybe one thing that you can, like a technique, like a strategy that you use that made the biggest impact on how fast and how far you went? And my answer was always the same. The only way to speed up any kind of business development process is if you recognize and use the leverages that you have. And the most important one, in my opinion, is the leverage of trust, because that shortens the know, like, trust journey. And through the leverage of trust, I was able to, in my last startup, to find the investors, to find employees, to have a first client that was willing to sign a letter of intent for me to do MVP with them. Otherwise, we wouldn't even be able to test things out, and so on. It enabled me to find resources whenever I needed them. And I guess, your network is your net worth really is true, if you look at it from that way. I hope this wasn't too long of an introduction.
Love it. I'm all ears. I have 2 ears, 1 mouth. When you're talking, as I mentioned before, you were still behind the Iron Curtain, but here there used to be a commercial called E.F. Hutton. And when E.F. Hutton talks, everybody listens. And so that's how I feel. Every time you talk, I learn so much. And I just want to thank you for that.
Thank you.
Yes. And if at any time you have any questions for Miha, please ask away. If you have a question and you're afraid to ask, and you'd maybe mention something in the comments after this is in a replay, I will go ahead and forward those questions off to Miha. He's an incredible person, and I believe he will definitely be someone that you want to know and learn from. So, Miha, thank you.
And just a simple thing, they can absolutely connect with me, reach out, send me a message. I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on Facebook. That's really me, not a assistant doing it for me. Other networks, it's a different story, but Facebook, my personal profile, LinkedIn, my personal profile, reach out. I'm always there, and I will be more than happy. Jamie, how chatty I am. So the problem will be for them to stop me talking, not to get me talking.
Yes, that, well, you know what though, you've had an incredible experience, and I think the bigger the challenge, the bigger the success. And when I say success, it's whatever you believe success is. My picture of success is maybe different than your picture of success, or maybe someone else is different. But to achieve success is pretty much in my opinion, to achieve a life that you desire and want to live. Yeah. And that's why I don't believe in that work-life balance saying, I just love life balance, because part of life for me is work. Right?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I wonder if maybe you can dive into a little bit about what we have on the title here. Trust is the most valuable currency. Learn how to leverage it. Can you go into that a little bit?
I mean, if we are talking from a business perspective,
yes.
What does the marketing do? It starts creating that know, like, trust journey. And then your ecosystem, whether that's your email marketing, Facebook group, meetups, offline stuff, whatever you use for your ecosystem, the purpose is to start generating the like and the trust. And then once those prospects go into your sales process, the sales is trying to even further that trust. And then through the delivery, whether that's products or services, you try not to screw up too much so that you maintain that trust. And then through the client experience process, you try to nurture that trust and give your client some cherries on top so that you're always staying on the top of their head, whether that's for continuous business, whether that's for referrals. Basically, everything that we do in business, if you take away a little bit of the back office stuff, is there to either generate or nurture the trust. And then if you leverage it, and you can leverage it in many different ways. You can leverage it so that you sell something to them. You can leverage it so that maybe you can send somebody their way and you get some commission out of it. You can create a partnership together. Like, there's plenty of different ways how you can leverage that trust. Now here, I would be very careful to just mention that you, in a way, have to put yourself on the sidetrack. So it shouldn't be about you. Trust, when you have it, it's an amazing thing. It's number one currency, if you ask me. But you can easily lose it if you don't respect the trust, and if you do something just for your own gain, without respecting the other person. Or when you make a connection, when you network people together, ask yourself, do I really truly deep down believe that they are there, that I believe that will be a win-win combination if they connect with each other, if I connect them? Because trust can also be transferred. I mean,
sure.
Jamie, I trust you, so if you send somebody my way, I don't have to go through the whole dating with them, because they come from you. I trust you, so they will already start at a very high trust.
Yeah, and I was trying to remember who it was. It was Gabe Arnold, I think,
yes,
that introduced us. That
yes,
just popped into my mind. And when he introduced me to you, it was basically like a warm introduction. I have to say this, that meeting you for the first time, it seemed like we were friends already. It's just, that's your personality, and you made me feel so welcome. And you know what you did, that and this is I really paid attention to our initial conversation, and I still use it all the time. I reference our initial conversation when I talk to other people that ask how about building networks or anything like that, right? And one of the biggest things I got from that was you did not ask anything in return. You simply gave and you gave and you gave. And when I talk about giving, you gave ideas and information and I said, wow, what can I do? And you said nothing, absolutely nothing. Just that we continued to have conversations and that we continued to build our friendship. And to me, that's how you eliminate the noise in the world, because you said number one is trust for you. That's the number one. What did you say it? The number one currency.
Well, yeah, the number one currency. I mean, currency, trust, when you have it, like, the business is easy, it's simple. So, it's really the number one currency, I guess, that we have in our business. But, it goes so much beyond the business. I mean, yes, I know we're talking about more entrepreneurship, but I mean, anything in life, it's all based on the trust. The whole dating, the getting to know each other, whether that's, with your future missus or your future mister, whether that's with your friends, you're always building that trust. Trust is what connects us. So I really don't know what else there is that you could say is more powerful than the trust. But again, it's so easy to lose it. So you really have to be careful. And it's not so much about being here, it's more about being here. You just have to be a decent human being. And then you don't even have to think.
I might add on to that. Vulnerability is a big part, I think, of trust. With you being as vulnerable as you telling your story and sharing those dark times, that's very vulnerable, right? And I can definitely appreciate dark times, and overcoming that and being able to share that story with others, I think, is a great foundation for opening up an opportunity to discover trust in other people. And as you said it, you nailed it. It's a lot easier to do business with someone you trust than someone you don't. If I had my way, I would do a handshake for everything. No more contracts. But obviously, we're not in that stage of where we are in this world. But I want to make sure that my trust goes on beyond just what my conversation is, because what I've struggled with in the past, and especially in the beginning, which may be considered a regret of mine, is I did try to fake it till I made it, saying that, oh yeah, sure, I can do this or that, with never having any real experience. I still said that to get going. And I wish if I would have taken that back, sure, I would have lost some opportunities and some deals, but I would have felt so much better about just saying, hey, this is who I am. I don't know how to do that, but I'm very interested in it. And I know I could help you out if you give me a chance, stuff like that. And that's what you do. That's all you.
Well, I mean, I'm glad that you see it that way. I mean, it really comes supernatural to me. I mean, it's not like something I have to think about. It's not something, I mean, of course, I am mindful about these things. Like, I have like a special CRM just for my personal use. So that's separate from our business CRM, where all the prospects and leads and clients and so go in. But I have a personal one where when I meet people and when I sense that connection and when I sense that there's something, beyond, so that we are aligned and so on, those people go into that CRM, and I make sure that I reach out to 5 to 10 people every day, send a quick voice message, not because I'm intent, just to stay in the loop, and I value that relationship and I want to nurture it. I mean, something that everybody's familiar with. We all had girlfriends or wives or husbands or boyfriends and so on. And since we are both men, you know how we men are in that courting period. We show all the best, even if that's not truly us, but like a peacock, we shine. And then once you move in, that's when, well, here I am, like, that's me, take it or leave it kind of thing. It's almost like, oh, I conquered that, now it's mine. now I don't have to, give a try or work hard at the relationship. And where do those relationships end up? Well, sooner or later, that lady will be fed up with you, and she will want somebody who cares about the relationship. And
Mm-hmm.
the same goes for all other relationships. You have to continue nurturing them, or they just fall off. That's and this is the intentional part, but it's not like, oh, I'm intentional. I can connect with people where I sense the vibe that we are on, a similar wavelength.
Sure.
Not
Similar
because,
belief
oh,
system.
I expect something from you. No,
Mm.
but I love you as a human being, and I would love to stay in touch with you. I would love to continue having the conversations. If at any point something happens, cool. If it doesn't, cool. I value the relationship that we have.
Yeah. And do you know Paul Maskell?
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah, he's a great guy. I think he's going to be coming on the Live with Bottleneck. He just wanted to say, nice work, gents. A great guy. Great.
Yeah, he was a guest on my LinkedIn Live,
Nice.
and I was a guest on his podcast. And well, Paul introduced me to a few absolutely amazing people who I then interviewed later. And it was really just by us, not just doing the show, but we had a chat here, a chat there. We clicked together. And yeah, he sent a few people my way, and they were absolutely amazing people. And I love him for that, and I love them for who they are. So yeah, this whole um, online connecting, the LinkedIn lives, the podcasts, and so on, going to them, doing them myself, really connected me with so many freaking amazing people that it's hard to believe.
Yeah, it's pretty neat. The world has kind of gotten smaller with the onset of technology. Our global reach is like we've never seen before. Where are you right now?
Right now, I'm in Serbia.
Yeah, and I'm here in Springfield, Missouri, and we're talking. There's no latency. It's live streaming. We're just having a blast, and we get to share with so many people. I absolutely love that, and I think that's the power of networking and the power of leveraging trust, right?
Yeah, yeah. And it's never about the numbers, it's always about the quality. It always has been for me. So that's very important thing. Just before I joined your show, I was invited into a private networking group to talk about certain things about LinkedIn. Now, I'm not a LinkedIn guru. I don't sell anything related to LinkedIn. The thing is that I was one of the first people to have the LinkedIn Live, and LinkedIn has a group on LinkedIn for us for the first 100, I think. And we have 20-ish LinkedIn employees in that group. And like once or twice a year, they decide to do a Zoom call for us, and they talk us through a little bit about the upcoming changes. And what LinkedIn is going for is, making it more user friendly, and eliminating that spamming and auto botting and all of those things. Now, I don't want to go too much into that, but what I wanted to say is that being human is the best way to connect.
I love it. Yep, just be yourself, right? Be yourself and connect.
Yeah, be your weird ass self. Yes. I mean, with 8 billion people out there, I mean, I hope you don't mind, but like a few weeks ago, I was browsing BBC UK, and there was an article about a young lady who enjoys to pretend to be a dog, and her boyfriend, husband, pretends that he's, a dog owner, and she wears the masks and the costumes, and he throws her treats and puts her on a leash and so on. And they have like a solid 6-figure business just by sharing those videos. I mean, whatever floats your boat, but you can be your weird ass self. And with so many people, you'll find your tribe. And I mean, honestly, we are all in human to human business. Even if you do e-commerce, A few people will, send you emails, support questions. You'll have to interact. Okay, it's less human to human. If you're a coach, then that's absolutely just human to human. But the business is becoming human to human more and more and more. And so why would I work with humans that I don't like, that I don't enjoy?
Doesn't make sense.
Doesn't make any sense. And so if you're playing, if you're pretending, if you're wearing masks, now why do I know that? Because that was me back before the failures. I was constantly wearing masks, pretending for people to like me, to do business with me. You know what? I ended up emptying myself completely. I was suffering the most. I was not happy. I was not satisfied. And then when I started this whole online thing, I just said it, you know what? Fuck it. I'll be who I am. If nobody likes that, I have 4 beautiful dogs. I'll just move somewhere into, a house in the hills, and I'll be the crazy cat lady, just not a lady and not with cats.
There you go. I see it. You just say it like it is. I really appreciate that about you. You do have a big heart, and that has a lot to do with trust. One of the things that I have probably a challenge with most of the time, that's hard for me to understand, is imposter syndrome. Who in the heck am I to be able to help somebody out in their business? They may be more successful than me. They may have more experience than me. And I always feel like I don't know as enough as I should. And it's a tough thing for me to do. I was talking with, and I hope people can relate with this. But I was talking with my assistant the other day, and I want to do this special post, but I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to be a hypocrite in saying, hey, these are the 3 things, blah, 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 whatever the topic was, right? I won't get into that, but I really looked at each one of those 3 topics, and I said, well, if I'm going to be sharing my viewpoints on this, I want to make sure that I'm living up to my end of things before I publish this and before I share this with others and talk to others about it. So I talked to my assistant and I said, hey, what are 3 things that you think are positives about me? She told me. And what are 3 things you think are things that I need to improve? And as you can imagine, that could be quite difficult for an assistant to tell her boss or whatever, right? We don't look at a relationship like that, but I could tell she was a little uncomfortable, but I'd let her go. I'm really big into constructive criticism. And I think by doing this exercise and learning those 3 areas that I can improve upon, it really helped me so that when I do release this article that I'm working on with all the research that I'm doing, it is coming from a place of honesty. And it allows me to say, you know what, you can trust what I'm saying here because I'm being vulnerable. And I've checked myself on this stuff. And so that whole world of imposter syndrome kind of fades away for me when I do that. And I hope that that's helpful for other people. And I'm wondering, do you ever experience anything like this, being a human being, wondering whether or not, with you being such a successful coach, do you ever get those feelings? Or do you ever have people coming up to you, and what do you tell them, or what do you do to overcome that?
Well, I guess, no, not as a coach, because I didn't start this as a business. I just started going to networking events, and then, a few startup incubators invited me to just share my thoughts. And then I just organized a few meetups, and just by, help sharing things, and people would then send me messages and emails. Wow, this really helped me. And by getting those, that kind of, like, I guess, boosted that self-confidence of mine. Because, here in Europe, we are way more humble, to the point of over humbling, like, oh, but that's nothing. That's, oh, no, I mean, that's nothing special. And I guess getting that feedback really helped me. Oh, wow, I really helped that person, and I helped that person. Oh, maybe I do know something, because I never did any certification. I never was in a school or in a class, how to teach others. It kind of came naturally the way it came. And I mean, I've changed and improved a lot. So for me, nothing is carved in stone. Everything, all my life, is permanent beta. And I'm just always trying to learn and to grow. And I still make a whole bunch of mistakes. I mean, even just this year, the mistakes that I did, the choices that were wrong, and so on. Fuck it. That's part of the life. I mean, if you're a fail coach, then even more things will happen to you, just so that life can, show you, are you really living up to your brand name? But the thing is, I know that the more I know how little I know. And I guess for me it's very simple. When somebody approaches me and they would like to work on something, I never think about what's in it for me. I'm not like, oh, I'll make X amount of money or this or that. I'll say yes. If I really feel in myself that, oh wow, I know that I can really help that person, I'll say, yeah, sure, let's work together. But if I don't have that feeling, maybe I'll say, you know what, I have a certain idea and I'm willing to work on it. And so if you give me the opportunity, we can do this together. Or I will say, no, like, I really don't know much about this, so I'm sorry, but maybe I have somebody in my network who I can refer you to. And that's the whole thing. So I've not experienced imposter syndrome per se the way most people do it, but it was because when I started this whole online journey, it was not a business. I was still resting from my startup, and I was just doing what I love, talking to fellow entrepreneurs. I mean, I can't imagine going to the local bar and talking with the local drunks about the weather and politics and football and whatnot. I mean, that's not me. I guess once you're an entrepreneur, that's in your DNA. And I love being surrounded by fellow entrepreneurs. I love being challenged. I love the brainstorming, the connecting, the conversations, and it's just a natural environment for me, I guess.
That makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense. You're just kind of following what you truly are passionate about, and I really think that comes through when we're chatting. Some of the biggest challenges I think many people have is not knowing what they don't know, and I think that's why it's really important to find somebody that they can trust and learn from. Just like the top professional athletes in the world, they all have coaches. Leaders of the world all have advisors. When you see somebody who you believe is at the top of their game, you can pretty much bet 100% that it's very likely they have someone that they can either advise them, they can lean on, they have a coach, things like that. So the more successful you are, I believe the more opportunity it is for you to get a coach or get somebody to advise you on your life. What do you say about coaching in general?
No, I mean, absolutely. I've met a lot of business coaches who told me, no, I don't have a coach. I'm a business coach. I mean, that's just BS. I mean, I have my coaches, I have my masterminds, because, when you're involved in your own things, you just don't see things, and they see. I mean, just a few days ago, I heard a really nice story. And the guy told me, like, war is never won by the person in the first row, by the soldier in the first row. It's the general on top of the hill who has that 50,000 feet view. So I call that the firehouse time. So not being on the fire ground, because there you don't have the time to think and challenge and reflect and brainstorm. You're taking out fires. You're in the do mode. But then the firehouse, and a good CEO should spend maybe 3, 4, 5 hours a week on running the company, and the rest is firehouse. Thinking, strategizing, learning, growing, brainstorming, networking, all of those things. That's the firehouse. And that's how you win the game. Otherwise, you will never win. At one point, you will become your biggest bottleneck, and that's it. I mean, that's we are usually our biggest bottlenecks. And the only way is you have to detach yourself from your business, but you can't completely, because we're still in love in our businesses. It's still, our child, our baby. So we need some outside help as well. It's absolutely mandatory. I mean, if somebody tells me, oh, I don't need a coach, just, run away from a coach like that, because they're just too confident, too cocky. I mean, even the best of the best coaches, even, I don't know, I guess everybody is referring to Tony Robbins as one of the best coaches. I think he has plenty of advisors and outside consultants and coaches who are consulting with him on certain things. I'm absolutely sure. I don't know, but I would be amazed if that's not the case.
Yeah, I agree. Well, we're getting close to the end of the half hour, and I want to be cognizant of your time, as I know it's very valuable. But I'm wondering if you can tell the listeners here on Live with Bottleneck what's the best way to reach out to you if they want to meet Miha.
Well, I mean, the easiest way is just add me on LinkedIn or add me on Facebook and reach out. But if they just want to experience a little bit my content and my random ramblings and talking about all the different business things and the leverage of trust and so on, the easiest thing is the Facebook group. It's free group, The Leverage of Trust. So facebook.com/groups/The Leverage of Trust, or if they click on my Facebook profile, they'll see that picture that can send them in and the link, and just join our group. I go live there. I'm not going there live today because I'm your guest, but usually at the same time as you have this Thursday thing, I go live in the group, and then on Tuesdays and Saturdays, so 3 times a week. And in between, I'm there, always willing and ready to help and assist in any way I can. And they can just start the journey that way, and then, we'll take it from there.
Well, I have to say, I apologize to your followers in your group for taking
It's okay.
you away for them, but I really do appreciate you taking the time to jump in here. And before we wrap today, is there anything that you would like for someone listening today that they might be able to take away from this conversation? By the way, if you ever want to just go into any of these search engines, you could type in #LOT, Leverage of Trust, and you'll probably see a lot of Miha's information too. But Miha, is there anything that you'd like to share before we wrap up?
Well, there's plenty to share, but since we're talking about the leverage of trust, I would just say, don't put yourself first, but really, really be of service, be of value when you're building a relationship. Things will come so much quicker to you if you don't ask. Just be a very decent human being, and try to not be too much here and just be here. I think that's the best advice I can give. If you're building deep connections with your network. And maybe just one thing that's super important: being good at networking doesn't start with you reaching out or anything. It starts with you understanding who you actually want to connect with. Because if you know that and where you can find them, then the whole thing is very easy. But when you don't know that, then you start shooting blanks because you don't even know, and you hope that somebody will say yes to your spammy messages. So the first step is always the preparation, then the execution.
That's a good point. That's a really good point. Well, Miha, thank you again for stopping by. You never cease to amaze. That's for dang sure. And it's just a pleasure. I just feel so fortunate to know you, and a big shout out to Gabe Arnold for introducing us. I really appreciate it.
Well, I guess you probably see that I'm blushing with all those nice compliments. So thank you for that. And yeah, it's always a pleasure talking to you. Always a pleasure to have a chat offline or online, however. So yeah, thank you for inviting me, and thank you for the opportunity to be in front of your audience.
Oh my gosh, anytime at all. All right, can you hold on one quick second and I'll go ahead and wrap up for us? Hold on one second. I've been talking with Miha Matlievski. I cannot recommend him enough. He's wonderful. He is the fail coach. You can go learn more by going to fail.coach. Send him an email, miha@fail.coach. Reach out to him. If you want to learn more about him, he's always on LinkedIn. At Miha Matlievsky. So I have it written down here. It's also going to be in the notes as well. And then join his group, reach out to him. He is #LOT, the leverage of trust. He talks all about that. And I promise you, you will walk away a different person if you get an opportunity to speak with Miha. Highly, highly recommend it. Miha is a great example of how to stop the bottleneck in your business. And that's definitely why we had him on here at Live with Bottleneck. So without any further ado, I want to say thank you for tuning in. If you can, and you haven't left a message or you have a question later on, please leave it in the comments. I'll forward it to Miha. Whether you're watching on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Periscope, Twitter, wherever it is, please leave a message and I'll be sure to make the introduction. Again, I want to say thank you so much for tuning in. And remember, make your own ripple. We'll talk to you soon.